So, Almer, we were talking a little bit about how important quality is from the perspective of being able to successfully achieve value for our clients with technology. And a lot of times, QA kind of ends up being like an afterthought, right?
Yeah. It's depending of the project because at the end you have to be defining a strategy in which you define the whole standards in which involve, for example, testing who involves process of performance, for example, regression, smoke testing, unit testing. There are many of type of testing.
So there are a lot of types of testing, and it's really important to know exactly what you're testing and what types that you're applying to your project. A lot of times we tend to really focus on the functional testing. But right at the beginning of the project, isn't it really important to focus on your acceptance criteria so that you can drive your quality through the entire development process?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned because at the end you have to define this strategy, and that involves, for example, a criteria acceptation process. For example, let's say that I am clicking one function and that function has to end in 5 seconds. So that will be one of the criteria at the end.
So a lot of times what tends to happen is we find out that a software project is failing at the end of the project. Is there anything that we could do from a quality perspective at the beginning of the project to ensure success of the entire process?
Well, most of the time, depending on the methodology, you have to involve this testing on, for example, if you have a standard quality from your company, and you define in which sites you have to try before and even go to the beta process. So for example, we have the pre-alpha version, the alpha version, then it's the beta, and then you go to production. So you have to define this way of how you're going to test at that point.
Okay, so you're talking about an escalating test plan based off of the position in the software development lifecycle.
Yeah.
So I've worked with some consulting companies in the past, and I've had people come to me at the end and say, "Hey, we built this, but we don't know how to test it." And my reply to them is always, "Well, if you don't know how to test it, then you shouldn't have built it, right?"
Yeah, you have to be aware of the bugs that the whole industry can pass during the whole life of the product development.
So we have a couple of clients that came to us from other consulting companies, and their other consulting company told them to save money in the development process, that they were going to exclude QA. And as a result, the delivery wasn't very satisfactory. Is there a way to reduce cost of development by excluding QA?
No, definitely not. You have to always be aware that the development team is only developing the product, not testing it. Because, for example, let's say that we have 3 types. The first 3 types of, for example, the unit testing that is more oriented to the develop side. Then there is integration testing,
which is the part that makes sure it works.
Which is the union of the modules, which has been before tested in the unit testing, and then is the system testing.
So making sure it works the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
You should know very early if you're on track or not. And so you can make your corrections as you go and not actually have a failure in the process. So if you have a good analysis and a good understanding of what you're doing, a good project plan, and then a focus on quality from the beginning, that should really set you up for success on your project.
Yes, because if you do in this way, at the end, it's like you were talking with the end user. So basically, if you follow this line, will be no chance to fail in any phase of the project.
Yeah, because you're able to correct early enough.
Yes.
It's kind of like sailing a boat. It's impossible to sail in a straight line, but you can make constant course corrections and guarantee that you're going to get where you're going.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Elmer. Appreciate it.